Coming to you live from the KDWN studios on South Durango, Pawn Talk Live. Hosted by the voice of the Las Vegas Wranglers, Dave Carney, and the owner of the world-famous Max Pawn in Las Vegas, Michael Mack. Call in at 257-5396. That's 257-5396. And find out what your valuables are worth from the top expert in the pawn industry. Now, Michael Mack and Dave Carney.
All right, guys, welcome to Pawn Talk Live here on News Talk 720 KDWN. Dave Carney, joined by the owner of the world-famous Max Pawn, Michael Mack himself. Chad Forster sticking around here from Live Las Vegas. And we've got a very special guest in studio with us today, Gary Zumwalt, watch expert and an expert in a whole lot of stuff, is going to be joining us. Guys, great to see you. Michael, of course, you were kind of hanging out listening to us on Live Las Vegas. How you doing this week?
You know, it's been a wonderful week. The weather's been super, and we're in for a great Memorial weekend. You know, great thing about pawn shops is they're always open, and these long weekends such as these, Memorial weekend, you're going to see people that need cash, and pawn shops are available for you, and you can get a loan, quick snap, and you're in the store, got a few $100 and you're back out, having your barbecue and having a great weekend.
Yeah, absolutely, and not just a great weekend to be had at the pawn store, a great weekend to be had through Pawn Talk Live, because we have got a ton of gifts to give away for you. We're going to do that right now, starting off by spinning our prize wheel.
And now it's time to get lucky with the Max Pawn Prize Wheel.
Oh, yeah, I'm Dave Woolery with your Max Pawn Prize Wheel prize package. Got a couple of tickets to give away, guys, to the Las Vegas 51s against the Sacramento River Cats. That's tonight, 7:05 p.m. Now, again, these are field-level passes. We gave away a pair during Live Las Vegas. We're giving away another pair right now. All you have to do, pick up the phone and call us, 702-257-5396. We're talking pawn, so get online with expert pawnbroker Michael Mack and expert in everything Gary Zumwalt, 257-5396, of course, 702, the prefix. So, 2 tickets to the Las Vegas 51s tonight. We've also got tickets, guys, to 3 amazing shows over at the LVH. We've got Raiding the Rockfall, we've got Mosaic, and we have got Trent Carlini's The King. So, awesome stuff. Give us a buzz here on Pawn Talk Live. Michael, Chad, Gary, welcome to the program here. It's been a really big week for pawn. And, Michael, I've got to start off by asking you how you feel about recent statements in the newspaper. Bob Coffin, a guy that I know that you know well through your years as a city servant, has kind of lumped pawn shops in recent statements together with strip clubs and other nefarious-type businesses, and as a purveyor of probably the nicest pawn shop on planet Earth. Now, Jupiter has a nice one, so I can't say there, but the nicest pawn shop on planet Earth. How does that make you feel, Michael?
You know, I think public servants, owners of sports teams, people who are in the public light have to watch what they say. Obviously, the councilman put his foot in his mouth. He's a former state senator. This guy's a veteran of speaking to the public. And to say a statement like that, he represents the people. And we are the people's bank. The pawn industry is the people's bank. So, I hate that he had to make a reference to us. I mean, sometimes they use pawn and porn in the same sentences. We're an upstanding business. We're well respected, and we're the people's bank. So much of today's public is non-bankable, and they use us every day. And for him to say, that we're in the same light as a strip club, the strip clubs too, they're a legitimate, legal business that spends thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars and puts back into the community, and they're legitimate. Don't put them down either. And now he's comparing the zoning or whatever to the medical marijuana license and the locations that will be passed through city ordinances. I think that the merits of these dispensaries should be on zoning, and they should fit into a normal city code, which should be approved, because they're no different than any other business. They're going to be legal, and they need to have access. They shouldn't be in a bad area, so if someone needs to go get their medical marijuana, they have to go to a bad area. They should be everywhere, and they should be accessible.
Absolutely.
I have the quote here if we wanted the quote.
I want the quote.
Again, it's Councilman Bob Coffin. He's talking about the possibilities of dispensaries here in Las Vegas, and he said that we already have an abundance of pawn shops and abundance of strip joints. A pharmacy model of marijuana dispensary is very likely to be an upgrade.
Well,
so that's just, when I read that, I was just like, that's just not necessary.
I put a phone call out to the councilman, and with all due respect, he is a councilman and has a big position in his community, but I invite him on. So if he's listening, or any of his liaisons or city officials, invite the councilman on and join us. And we want to know if there's something that maybe he has legitimate reason why he feels Pawn is not so good for the community. Tell us and tell the listeners of Pawn Talk Live.
Well, absolutely. And I want to do this, Michael. I want to open up the phone lines again at 702-257-5396. That's 702-257-KDWN. Get online with us here. First of all, you're going to be able to win a great prize, your choice of tickets to shows at the LVH or 51's tickets. But tell us your thoughts on the Pawn business. Now, Michael, we hear week in and week out, and we've been doing this show for over 2.5, 3 years now, and we've heard from people all over the Las Vegas Valley, all over the country, actually, and really what we hear the most is how pawn shops have been there for folks in times of need, how pawn shops were there when nobody else was going to be there, and specifically in your case, how you're not only there for a person when he or she is in need, but also in the good times, too, because of the different things that you guys do with your community involvement, your retail sales. So talk to us a little bit about, the change and the evolution of Pawn Shop from maybe, a time of, times gone by when, Bob Coffin may have been right.
Well, I think, the councilman probably realizes that, some of the best community partners in Las Vegas have been the pawn industry. Cash America, if you see across the board, they're in every charitable event, whether it's runs or walks or fundraising with JDRF. The city has been blessed to have the pawn industry. We have a lot of public companies that are here, and we give back so much. I mean, as a matter of fact, tomorrow at Max Pawn, we are having a give back to the community event for a local soccer team, which my son happens to be the goalkeeper for. But they won the regionals, and they're not a wealthy team. They're a struggling team, and they didn't think they'd win the state championship, and they won. And now they're going on to New Mexico, and so we're trying to defray some of the costs. So we're having a sidewalk sale with clothing and shoes and sporting goods. So if you have stuff you'd like to donate, stop by Max Pawn. We're open till 8 p.m. We're having our sale starting at 8 a.m. tomorrow, and we're going to be selling these things, and the proceeds from that sale are going to go back. But we're always giving, Dave, and on Pawn Talk Live, we've had local events, we've had live broadcasts where we're always doing something with the community, American Red Cross,
That's
Shade
right.
Tree. The list goes on, and I think the councilman needs to realize maybe sometimes they need to be educated.
Well, and Michael, you were a former city councilman. I always thought that being an advocate for small business is part of your job, and he's going against that. So, I mean, what is he promoting? Big superstores? I mean, seriously, whether he likes pawn or doesn't like pawn, it's a small business that brings revenue to the city and is better for the city than some massive corporation that comes in here and pays crap wages. I mean,
Absolutely.
let's be honest.
Absolutely. Well, and this is, I think, where, we're kind of, we're obviously here on Pawn Talk Live, News Talk 720, and talking about the world of pawn every week with you guys. But when we hear comments like this, it does sort of raise our ire a little bit, because we know what goes into making a good business, what goes into making a good pawn shop. And part of being a good pawn shop, and actually a functioning pawn shop, Michael, means that you adhere to some of the strictest business standards that any business can be put under. All of your inventory is scrutinized by the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department or whatever municipal police department happens to be there. Your video monitored 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and the safety of your patrons is probably the highest with the security that goes involved of any other retail business. So for my dollar, when I look at a politician making these comments in a place where I'm going to shop, my dollar goes to the small business. I am a supporter of that and not a supporter of the comments that Bob made, obviously.
Well, one of the things, we always look at in the pawn industry is, how we help the average citizen or even the citizen that's distraught. There could be a person that has very little means to get any type of cash. And the choice they may make, where they might have a big screen TV, or they may have a small gold bracelet, and that is their only choice to get cash. So the other way they could possibly look at things is, I might go rob someone.
Right.
I might commit a crime. So we are helping everyday people that could not get cash. And so the one thing I'd like to show, Councilman Coffin, as well as, we are a very popular radio show. We have a lot of listeners, and so
saying, Bob.
So if you happen to have a pen handy, call 702-229-6405. That's the councilman's phone number
Wow.
at City Hall and let him know how you feel about
Hey,
Pond.
you know what? Maybe we should try to get him on a hotline here. You might want to have one of
His political career may be dead.
Yeah, that's
Pond
it could be in a
hybrid.
coffin.
It could be in a
Wow.
coffin.
Wow, that was just begging to come out at some point. I was trying to figure a way that we
I'm
work
hoping
that in.
I'm hoping that he didn't put much thought into this and it was just offhanded and then he feels bad about it. That's what I'm hoping because obviously when you analyze this, he's talking about pawn stores from years. It's not the same as it used to be.
No,
it's just not.
As a matter of fact, I mean, the way that he kind of, he kind of positioned himself here, he's all for the medical marijuana dispensaries. Just get rid of the dirty strip clubs and pawn stores. All right, guys. To me, I think all three of those go into play. You got to have a pawn shop near a strip club and your dispensary. How else are you going to pay for all this stuff?
Right.
All right, guys. We're going to step aside, take our first look at traffic here on Pawn Talk Live. When we come back, getting on with watch expert, art expert, and antique golf club expert Gary Zamalt. Stay with us here on Pawn Talk Live.
It's 2:15 in the KDWN Nevada Credit Union Traffic Center. On your freeways, just one accident, 215 eastbound near Las Vegas Boulevard. That left lane is still blocked. Watch for wrecks Spencer at Sunset, Durango north of Warm Springs, Decatur at Rancho, and Las Vegas Boulevard approaching Silverado Ranch. And storm drain work continues to affect Vegas Drive between Rancho and Jones, as well as Rainbow from Ann to Tropical Parkway through the rest of 2014. From the KDWN Nevada Credit Union Traffic Center, I'm Denise Marameyer on News Talk 720, KDWN.
This is Ted Moody, former Metro Assistant Sheriff. I'm a Marine Corps veteran, and I'm proud of the 30 years I spent with the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department.
I'm voting for Ted Moody because I'm tired of business as usual at Metro. Ted Moody is endorsed by the Chamber of Commerce, while his opponents are either part of the establishment or backed by the police unions. We don't need more illegal contract arbitrations or a police department that won't even respond to all traffic accidents anymore. It's time for a change. It's time for Ted Moody.
It is time for a change. It's time for a Metro that's committed to reducing police use of deadly force and to working effectively within its budget. As your sheriff, I promise to protect and serve the people of our community first. My name is Ted Moody, and I'm running to be your sheriff, and I'm asking for your vote.
Paid for and authorized by Ted Moody for Sheriff. More information at tedmoody.com.
Join Harry Jacobs and Crystal Flowers as they host The Source, Monday through Thursday from 1 to 3 p.m. The show will highlight new and current businesses in the Vegas Valley. The Source, Monday through Thursday from 1 to 3, only on News Talk 720 KDWN.
Dave Carney here, inviting you to the all-new Live Las Vegas with me and my new co-host, Chad Forster. Every Friday from 1 till 2, Chad and I break down top Vegas news, sports from around the country, and entertainment in a really fun way. Yeah, that's right, talk radio can actually be fun. Live Las Vegas every Friday at 1.
Now, back to Pawn Talk Live with your hosts, Michael Mack and Dave Carney.
And welcome back to Pawn Talk Live here on News Talk 720 KDWN. Dave Carney, joined by the owner of the world-famous Max Pawn, Michael Mack. Chad Forster, Gary Zamalt in studio with us today. Gary, great to have you with us here, especially combining all your expertise. Apparently, Michael ran down a laundry list. I tried to write it down, but my shorthand is bad. Watch dealer and expert, art expert, antique golf club expert. Now, how do you get into antique golf clubs? Let me start off there, Gary.
Well, I was a retired judge.
So you played a lot of golf.
I played a lot of golf.
It's good for you.
But in conjunction with that, I used to host a lot of golf tournaments that provided money for charitable events across the country for kids.
Gotcha.
Kids, usually where they lived or different kids' charities. So in doing that, I got in touch with a lot of the golf manufacturers, and they were really nice to us. And that led to me filtering out on the PGA and Champions Tour a bit. So I got to meet a lot of those guys.
Wow.
And the one thing I noticed about some of them, well, most of them, is they all had a nice watch. And they commented, nice watch, why are you wearing a Seiko? So...
Wow. I'm assuming that's supposed to be a slam.
Well, I thought
Seikos
I had a
were
nice
good
little
watches.
Watch.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, and it was. It is. But, finally they said, if you really want your business to expand, and that's while I was still working, but eventually I wanted to work for myself like I do now. And they said, project success, wear a nice watch. And I've come to find out that, most people will judge somebody instantly on how do your shoes look, kind of watch do you wear?
Boy, it sounds like what Mark Cuban had to say.
I was going to say, speaking of watches, the watch you have on is it kind of an antique, isn't it? I mean, that's like an old school.
called a James Bond Submariner.
Wow.
It's from the late 50s, just like I am.
Sean Connery must have wore himself one of those things, huh?
That was horrible.
It was
Mine doesn't
passable.
spin around and cut anything.
Nah,
though.
that's too bad. Well, when you add in the gadgets, I mean, it goes from a $10,000 watch, though, to like a $100,000 watch. And, speaking of $100,000 watches here, Gary, you ended up selling something to Michael, and I'm not trying to blow you guys out of the water here, but we can talk about the valuation, Michael, because that's what we do here on Pawn Talk Live, is we talk about the valuation. But the watch you bought from Gary, I mean, kind of describe that a little bit to our listeners here.
Well, it's an Audemars Piguet, which is one of the finest watches made in the world. Audemars, Vacheron, and Patek Philippe are probably the cat's meow of watches. And this is a Audemars Piguet Royal Oak offshore, black anodized, and with a few little diamonds.
A few?
sprinkled
Are
in
you
it.
kidding me? I mean, it gave me a cataract problem here. It's just gleaming so bright. It's all over the color spectrum. I mean, now retail, Michael. What would a watch like that go for if you were to buy it brand new out of the box and in the store?
Well, it's a very limited edition watch. It's fully diamond with black diamonds and white diamonds, encrusted from the head of the watch all the way to the clasp. And the watch like this is $75,000, $80,000, and some maybe even $100,000 plus.
Wow!
But it's a rarity. And the great thing is, the judge and I have become such good friends, and we swap watches, and I buy watches from him, he buys watches from me. We're moving inventories all the time. And if there's special needs, if you're looking for a Submariner and a blue face 18 karat, we can get it because he has access to watches from all over the world. And so it's been a great relationship. He's a gentleman, and we invite our callers. We got an expert here. Hey, you have an old putter? We want to hear about it. Do you have a really rare watch, a Patek Philippe maybe that's been sitting at home? We want to hear about it because you got the expert right next to me.
Well, and then speaking of former judge, he said he was a child support judge. If you're having a problem with your child support right now, give us a call, 702-257.
We'll do the best we can.
5396. And basically what you're going to tell them is pay up, okay? That's what I can tell you. Write the check.
That's when they came to see me, is when they hadn't done that.
Oh, my God.
So I had to make them behave.
Let me ask you here, Gary. I mean, kind of transitioning to your former, judge days. I mean, how depressing is that when you have to get, men mostly, I'm assuming here, men drug in front of you, grown men, completely ignoring their responsibilities and not taking care of their offspring. I mean, as a man yourself, I mean, what kind of feeling do you get from that?
Well, each case was a little different, but I was kind of like Jack Webb on Dragnet.
Wow.
Just the facts.
Just the facts. Okay, I like that. Good reference.
Whether or not you have an excuse, whether or not you don't, whether you hated the mom, whether you didn't, bottom line, you have to pay because the court said you did.
That's right.
And if you can't, then you've got to figure out a way to get that done, or you're going to have to go on timeout. And,
big boys timeout.
Yeah, I was going to say nobody,
that's going to cost you some money, by the way.
Yeah, it will. Yeah, and being a resident of the state, I'm sure, is probably not the most comfortable thing to have to do while you're doing that. And, I mean, when you're working in this line, Gary, I mean, obviously, a sitting judge has to see, a whole, a wide, spectrum of people. I mean, the folks that were in front of you were by no means all poor. I'm sure there was plenty of affluent people that did not pay their child support as well. And then you look at what you get into now with watches, the antique golf clubs. Obviously, you're transitioning into a bit of a different realm than maybe just as a judge. Do you find that what you're doing now and what you did then kind of helped each other out?
Oh, definitely, because I got to know people, and I deal with the public a lot now, as well as other watch dealers, and most of that's face to face. So recognizing when someone's lying to you or things don't seem quite right, that's really important in any kind of business. And having been lied to umpteen thousands of times, I hope I'm pretty good at that.
Yeah, I bet you're pretty good at sniffing it out. It's like a BS detector of the highest order.
It's pretty interesting because, as Gary says that, we've dealt on a few watch deals together. I think any time that the two of us say, hey, I'm sending you a watch, it's an 8 out of 10, it's a 1990, it's a Rolex President double quick set, when it lands on his desk, he knows exactly what it's going to be. And he's had some relationships that he's created with us together that, they haven't been as consistent as they should be. And I think that, that speaks volumes of, just who you are as a person, going back to, paying your child support. These type of people, they probably, the guy doesn't tell you he has the right watch. He probably had some issues along the way with other things, too.
Right. Back in the day, there were a lot of people that didn't pay their support, and several of them were pro athletes.
Oh, sure.
And that I didn't understand, and honestly, we had a lot of women that didn't pay.
Yeah, no, listen, I mean, this is an issue, and we poked a little bit of fun at it, but an issue that is really more prevalent than people realize, and it's not just exclusionary to men, but it's just, predominantly men, aren't the ones caring for the child full time, which, who knows? Maybe someday that'll change. We are entering the age of Aquarius, so maybe we'll all find our, our female genome in there somewhere. And
we're going to sing Kumbaya now?
That's right. We could. It's a great song. I've got my guitar in the car. Let's actually, though, take Roxy on the line. I believe we've got Roxy Amorosa on with us from Cowtown guitar fame and soon to be Exile on Main Street fame. Roxy, thanks for joining us today. How are you?
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me. I'm great.
Well, it's great to have you with us here, and obviously you've been hearing, Gary Zamalt, watch dealer, now former judge. Let me ask you, Roxy, you being downtown, you see all sorts of different people. Do you think that anybody would be so brazen as to try to pay their child support by, pawning off an item of rock and roll history? I mean, does that ever happen? Somebody come in like, hey, I've got this, and I need to pay my child support. Will you take it?
Oh, my goodness. I haven't heard of that. We did somehow, in a weird way, end up with the channel that Elvis recorded his last show at the Hilton.
Really?
And it was a weird situation like that where the guy had to pay for his attorney's fees.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
And it's
all
still
right.
sitting down at Cowtown because, Michael, maybe you can help us with that. Where do you find a buyer?
That's right. Well, I think we're gonna have to place that on the internet. Well, Roxy, I got to say, we are so excited together about opening Exile on Main Street, June 6th, first Friday, and big news today, right?
Big news.
What happened? We got our business license.
Oh, I was gonna.
License.
Yay!
Yeah, and it was hand delivered. It's so exciting.
I was just like, all right.
That's the first step. That's good.
The city of Las Vegas is closed on Fridays. Of course, Bob Coffin is one of the guys who's on as well.
Exactly.
I don't know if you've been listening, Roxy, but we've been riding our poor councilman a little bit because he made make a statement of poor judgment. But
it's Friday. You ain't got no job and you ain't got nothing else to do, Bob. Might as well just do it.
But one of the things, what I was really excited to see is Jesse took in some guitars this week that are of significance, and we spoke on our previous show about Stephen Stills. Tell everyone about the guitar that we took in this week.
Oh gosh, I wish I could. It's I don't have any information here.
I think it's a 1945.
It is. It's a Gibson acoustic, 1945, owned by Stephen Stills.
Wow.
And 3 other guitars that come from the same collection. So they may not have been stage played or owned by Stills himself, but they're all, they're up there. The caliber is up there as well. So there's 4 in total. They're in our acoustic room now.
Jesse was telling me that the Stephen Stills guitar, the 1940-something Gibson acoustic, without Stephen Stills playing it, was probably worth $80,000, $90,000.
Oh, absolutely. Just from that time frame.
Yes, in that time frame. And this guitar's got to be worth $125,000, $130,000. And, if you haven't been to Cowtown Guitar, it's at 1009 South Main Street. The greatest people down there. They can fix, repair guitars and amps. And, you never know who you might see down there. But let's talk about the great stuff that's opening next door.
Ooh, that's my favorite stuff. Anybody need denim?
Michael needs to be cool because, obviously he wasn't cool enough. So we've got the frozen denim he can wear, correct?
Oh, that's true.
Right. So this is stuff, Gary, that you never wash. Okay, as counterintuitive as that sounds, you never wash this denim. You crumple it up, throw it in the freezer, and apparently the next day when you're getting it out, you shake it or something, right? And you kind of wear it again.
It's interesting. I think I just saw an article. Roxy might have sent it to me that the president of Levi Strauss says you shouldn't wash your Levi's.
Exactly.
Really?
He came out and said that.
Really? So, I'm really confused, though, because, if you ever watch these commercials, it's always guys doing this, stuff. You got, blood. There's, a spleen on your, so do you just, let it dry? Won't that attract animals? That could be a bear problem.
That's not good.
Yeah, I think that if you're a surgeon or maybe in the food service industry, you might want to do a couple more soaks than the average guy. But really the theory is that Levi's denim was made as workwear, and the way it looks the best is when it's worked in and it's, maybe not stained, maybe spot treat your stuff, but when it gets those natural fades, when you look at a guy's jeans, and gentlemen, this is from a lady's perspective, when you look at a guy's jeans and you can tell that the fades that are in them, and we call them honeycombs on the back of the knee, where you get those folds that come in when every time you bend your knee.
Honeycombs, never knew that.
Yeah, they're called honeycomb. And when you see that those are fall in line with the way that he holds his leg or the way that he moves his pants, you can tell that those are fine denim. You can tell that he wears jeans. Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Well, like
That's
Dave wears
awesome.
Jordache. Is it the same for Jordache as it is for Levi's?
It can be for everything.
Okay. Jordache is back, believe it or not.
Hey,
Exile likes Jordache.
Hey, listen, Exile on Main Street. Everybody's going to like that. Now, Roxy, we've only got about 30 seconds here before we got to go to our next look at traffic. But again, Exile on Main Street opening up next Thursday night, or next Friday night, June 6th. Okay,
Friday,
June 6th. Oh, God, it's going to be fantastic. Well, don't get confused then with Thirsty Thursday, which is right before First Friday. And, of course, Thirsty Thursday, every Thursday down at Cowtown Guitars. Whole bunch of fun stuff going on down there. Roxy, thanks so much for joining us again today. We'll talk to you next week for sure.
All right. Thanks for having me, guys.
Have a great weekend.
All right, guys, it's 2:30 in the afternoon here on Friday. We're going to step aside, take another look at traffic. When we come back, we're going to stay on this music. I've got a whole bunch of musical moment facts. You are not going to want to go anywhere. You're going to have to hear them. Stay right with us.
More live, more local. The best talk radio is right here on News Talk 720 KDWN, Las Vegas, where locals come to talk.
More than 8 million Americans have signed up for health care coverage under the president's new law. But our just-released poll finds that most Americans oppose the law, 43% compared to just 28% who support it. Jennifer Agesta is our polling director.
17% of Americans say they think the law will be completely repealed. A majority of them say it will be implemented with at least some changes, but only about 12% say the law will be implemented as it was originally passed.
There is a bright spot for President Obama in all of this. Most Americans who signed up for coverage say they found premiums in line with what they expected, or even lower. But even that was diminished by another finding. More than one-third of those who said they or someone in their household tried to enroll were ultimately unable to do so. A reminder of the technical problems that paralyzed the healthcare.gov website for weeks after it went live last fall. AP Update. I'm Rita Foley.
The news brought to you by the Home Depot. Now at the Home Depot, buy Roundup Weed and Grass Killer or Roundup Extended Control Wands. Get a free refill worth up to $19. Let's do this. More saving, more doing. That's the power of the Home Depot. See store for details.
It's 2:32 in the KDWN Nevada Credit Union Traffic Center. Just one accident on the Valley Freeways. That's 215 at Decatur, but it is looking really slow around the Spaghetti Bowl. Lots of crashes. Oakey at Valley View, East Desert Inn west of Hollywood Boulevard, Sunset Road west of Eastern, Durango north of Warm Springs, and Spencer at Sunset. And this one just came in. There's a crash on Sahara near the Stratosphere. And don't forget, lane restrictions are in place again on the northbound side of Las Vegas Boulevard. That's for work on the Cromwell Hotel. From the KDWN Nevada Credit Union Traffic Center, I'm Denise Marmeyer on News Talk 720 KDWN.
Is your auto loan rate higher than 1.99%? If so, consider refinancing with One Nevada, and we'll throw in no payments for 90 days if you qualify. And if you're buying a new car or truck, we can help with that too. Apply at onenevada.org or call us at 702-457-1000. One Nevada is open to all Clark County and Pahrump residents, federally insured by the NCUA Equal Opportunity Lender.
You hear a lot of talk about gold these days. What, with the stock market and more upheaval than tumbleweeds in a tornado? The world-famous Max Pawn is your gold spot in Las Vegas. Don't just send your gold into some random TV guy for pennies on the dollars. Go where you can see what your gold is really worth and get guaranteed market rate for your gold, silver, diamonds, and more. Come visit the world-famous Max Pawn in Las Vegas at the northeast corner of Sahara and Jones or online at maxpawnlv.com.
At Buffalo Wild Wings, we know this time of year is busy with And
Happy Father's Day!
so this year, instead of this...
Oh, thanks. Another tie.
Give your dads and grads the gift of...
Okay, I've got your medium hot wings, your large boneless.
With a Buffalo Wild Wings gift card. And right now, when you buy $30 in gift cards for them, you'll get a $5 bonus as a thank you to yourself. And that's something worth celebrating.
Buffalo Wild Wings. Wings, beer, sports.
Valid in restaurant and participating U.S. locations only for a limited time. All supplies last. See bonus coupon for additional terms and conditions.
Just in time for summer, the Home Depot has the exclusive easy-to-install Hampton Bay 52-inch flow ceiling fan, just $99.97 with free remote and light bulbs. Memorial Day savings of over $19. So let's upgrade, cool down, and save energy for years to come. Let's do this. The Hampton Bay 52-inch flow ceiling fan, just $99.97. More saving, more doing. That's the power of the Home Depot. Valid through June 1st, U.S. only. See store for details.
Now back to Pawn Talk Live with your hosts Michael Mack and Dave Carney.
And welcome back to Pawn Talk Live here on News Talk 720 KDWN, where our off-the-air conversations are sometimes better than our on-the-air conversations. And we'll be bringing that to you at Pawn Talk Live After Dark. Check us out at pawntalklive.com. That's pawntalklive.com. And
that was like a Baywatch Nights. Remember when that came out? That was a horrible flop, by the way.
Oh, yeah, like the daytime show was so good.
I love the daytime show.
I know why you love the daytime show.
I watch it without the sound.
Opening.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that was
slow
the only
motion.
Yeah,
the
it was great.
slow motion boob is the only reason to watch that show, and of course the solid acting by David Hasselhoff.
Oh,
okay,
well, yeah.
I'm going to tell you what, one of the most underrated actors of the last 40 years. Okay, and a hell of a singer. Okay,
no,
listen, Dirk Nowitzki is a huge fan of David Hasselhoff.
I would imagine.
It's good stuff here, man. All right, back here on Pawn Talk Live. The number to reach us here live in studio today, 702-257-5396. That's 702-257-5396. You've got Michael Mack, fourth-generation pawnbroker. Gary Zamalt, former judge, which is very interesting, too. We don't want to bombard him with legal questions, but also a watch dealer, an antique golf club expert, and a Kansas City Royal fan. So if you're commiserating with him, give us a call
sympathies.
now. Exactly, 702-257.
Well, your goodwill.
But listen, here's what I was going to say. The Kansas City Royals actually this year looked like they were starting to make some moves positionally within their organization, which should bode well for the future. So I think the farm system, from what I've heard, is actually pretty deep. So not so much. I don't know, you're a Royal fan.
He was being honest right there.
He doesn't like that look.
Nah.
No.
Got a couple pitchers, but as far as hitting, not so much.
Well, and you know what? You got to get that hitting. If you're going to be anything in the American League, you got to get some hitting, and it's just it's got to happen.
Well, the Royals had great pitching last year, great defense.
Yeah.
And they hoped everybody would come back to their form in hitting where they might have a chance, but nobody on the team's hitting.
Yeah.
So you can only pitch so well. How many games can you win 1-0?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, ask the former Montreal Expos that. I mean, it's a hard case. And you know what? We do have some good baseball, though, for you guys. We've got 2 field pass tickets to see the Las Vegas 51s down at Cashman Field tonight. They're playing the Sacramento River Cats. Game starts at 7:05. All you have to do is pick up your phone, give us a call here on Pawn Talk Live with a pawn question for Michael or for Gary, 702-257-5396. We've also got tickets, guys, to 3 tremendous shows down at the LVH, Raiding the Rock Vault, Mosaic, and Trent Carlini's The King. Now, Michael, again, for folks that are maybe just tuning into us right now here on Pawn Talk Live and didn't get a chance to hear about the great event that's going on down at Max Pawn tomorrow from 8 a.m. till 3 p.m., you guys have a sidewalk sale and a fundraiser going on for LVSA 96 Red Boys soccer team, who, by the way, just won Nevada's 18 and under state tournament going on to regionals in New Mexico. So tell us again a little bit about this.
Well, I'm proud to say that I'm a proud father as well. Austin, my 17-year-old, is the goalkeeper for this team. And, it was kind of a Cinderella story. They were a third-place team in the state all year long. And, when the chips were down, they played well and they won the state tournament. And so that gave them the opportunity. But same time, the cost of doing something that we're going to be gone for 1 full week in New Mexico, a van, travel cost, lodging, feeding these monsters.
I was going to say, the food cost for these kids has got to be out.
A lot of churros down there, man.
That's a lot of eating and a lot of liquid, a lot of Gatorade, and a lot of water. So, anyone who wants to make a donation can come to Max Pawn anytime and make a donation. You can drop off clothing, sporting goods, handbags. So tomorrow from 8 to 3, we're going to be having a sidewalk sale. All the proceeds are going to help our boys in New Mexico. And hopefully I'll come back and say, we're going to have another fundraiser because we're going to nationals.
Yeah, I was going to say that probably isn't too far off the radar for these kids because, obviously working with you over the last couple of years and seeing your son and the group that this club plays with, some of the most talented athletes in soccer in the state and possibly in the country. Now, I know, Austin, I'm not trying to give anything away before it's too soon, but your son has been offered a number of really enticing colleges in college, none the bigger than Brown, perhaps.
Well, he's been looked at by Stanford and Penn and Haverford, and not only is he a great athlete, but he's a scholar as well. And the only thing I can tell parents is keep your kids educated, give them the best education they can, and if they're an athlete on top of it, boy, they have an extra leg on a lot of kids because there's a lot of athletes out there that are talented, but there isn't as many super smart ones out there, and so you do have a leg up.
And you know what? This is a good time, I guess, to give a shout out to a good friend of the show here and a good friend of mine, Johnny Unitas' son, Joe Unitas, who is a part of a really great team called SAAF, which is Student Athletes of Americas, and what they do is they really help Chad and Gary. They help position the high school athlete to colleges, put together their demo tapes, and really get the coaches to look at them. Which, if you're not playing big time college or a big time football program in some of the more glamour states or in the glamour schools, you don't get looked at like other kids do. And this is a great way, student athlete showcase, for them to get their information to coaches and possibly save parents $45,000, $55,000, $60,000 because they can get them a little scholarship
a year.
Yeah, absolutely.
So SAS has been great. We've utilized the service for Austin, and like you say, for some of the sub sports, soccer is not a high profile sport. It's not a money maker for these universities, and so SAS, they accumulate their videos, they send out their transcripts, and then when these kids are in tournaments like regionals, they shoot out these emails letting the coaches know that they'll be at these events, and there's some follow-up too. So big shout out to the Brody boy and everything he does for us.
Yeah, no, really great service there. And again, guys, we've got tickets to see your Las Vegas 51s in action tonight against the Sacramento River Cats. 7:05 the game starts. All you have to do is give us a call, 702-257-5396, and 3 great shows over at the LVH. We got Michael Mack, fourth generation pawnbroker, Gary Zamalt, watch dealer. Now, Gary, when we think watch dealer now, give us a little a broad definition of what a watch dealer does. I mean, it's different, obviously, than having a pawn store. You're not just working in one location. How does a watch dealer go about the day-to-day business?
Well, I was lucky enough to meet a lot of different people over the years, and several of them have become scouts for me. They'll find things, pawn shops like Michael, although there's not really any pawn shop.
I was going to say
Michael's.
That's pretty hard to find. Yep.
But occasionally there'll be nice watches around the country that some of my friends will find, and they point them my way. I've been lucky enough to find some stores that have, Rolex, Patek Philippe accounts that need something to do with their trade-ins. So I'm that guy.
Gotcha. Well, it's listen, it sounds like a lot of fun, and I've got to ask you because you've known a lot of really famous watches, I'm sure, through your time. You've seen a lot of the big ones that have come around, stuff that maybe celebrities have worn. Did you ever see a watch that maybe Ray Charles wore? Did you know him to be a watch guy? I guess it probably wouldn't be such a good question. It
doesn't make a lot of sense.
It didn't, but I was kind of thinking, if you were going to...
he wore a digital, but I'm
Did
not
he
sure.
have a digital? Yeah. I didn't know if they had...
Stevie Wonder, though, now that guy's a watch wearer. He's all about watches.
Listen, I do have Braille watches.
I was going to say, they have Braille watches, and I've seen Stevie Wonder's with his, and
that's
why...
face.
And that's why... that's great. That's why I had to ask about Ray Charles. But you know what we're going to do right now, guys? On the back of that, we're going to jump into today's musical moment.
Sing us a song, you're the piano man. Sing us a song.
No Crystal.
Tonight.
Everyone knows a hit is a hit. Here's this week's musical moment.
All right, guys, here we are, musical moment, and
hopefully we didn't offend anybody. We were just joking.
Well, listen, it's a segue. It's called a segue
I
here
love
because
it.
what we're doing is we're talking about today's musical moment down at Max Pawn and, of course, at Cowtown Guitars. Some of the finest musical instruments in town are found there, and not just instruments, but equipment, Michael. Down at Max Pawn, you guys have a really, really big selection of high-end guitars. There's an Elvis Epiphone replica right down there right now with pearl inlays in the frets. You've also got a number of really quality amplifiers, Marshall tube amp stacks, which any of the musicians listening know exactly what that is. So really, really good stuff down there. And, of course, at Cowtown Guitars, you have some of the biggest history pieces that come through Las Vegas. And today what we've done, guys, is we've called Rolling Stones edition of their 500 greatest songs, which were put together, not by us, but 170 musicians, industry personnel, and critics. So this is a subjective list here. But we're starting off the number 10 most popular song of all time will happen to be Ray Charles' What I Say. You guys agree with that? Pretty awesome song.
That's a great song. Not much of a watchwear, my understanding of Ray Charles, but a great musician. I just actually finally watched that movie, Ray.
Yes.
Great movie, by the way.
That was fantastic.
I know I'm like 10 years too late, but still, that's a great movie, and that's a great song. I don't know if that'd be in my top 10, but a great song.
All right, what about you guys? Gary?
Good song. Not really on my recorder, I don't think,
okay.
right now.
All right, good. Michael,
good
like
song.
we said, subjective, of course. Michael, what about you?
I like anything Ray Charles does. He's awesome.
Yeah, best album I heard was Jazz Plus Blues, double CD, fantastic, great stuff. All right, number 9 on the list. This one is totally, for me, out of place because of just the historical context. Nirvana's Smells Like Teen Spirit. Number 9 most popular song of all time.
If that has anything to do, it smells like my kid's bedroom. I want nothing to do with that. My boys stink.
Oh my God! You guys remember, Chad? You remember Teen Spirit when we were growing up,
well,
right?
See, this is what started the whole, that whole scene, that garage band, whatever you want to call it in the '90s, grunge. That's really what started it. And I don't know about musically, it's kind of sloppy, honestly. But, I mean, it's a great song.
Yeah, and you were a Washington kid. I'm surprised you can still comb your hair.
I was more of a Pearl Jam guy than I was Nirvana.
There you go. All right, guys, because we're coming up here on our last look at traffic. I'm going to run down this list. Number 8 on the list, The Beatles' Hey Jude. Number 7, Chuck Berry's Johnny Be Good. Great guitar song. Number 6, The Beach Boys made the list with Good Vibrations. I know, not the other one I was thinking about. Number 5, Aretha Franklin, R-E-S-P-E-C-T, Respect Me. I can go with that. Number 4, Marvin Gaye's What's Going On. Number 3, John Lennon's Imagine. Number 2, not surprisingly on Rolling Stone's list, the Rolling Stones, I Can't Get No Satisfaction. And number 1 on the list of all-time most popular songs in the history of the world, Bob Dylan's Like a Rolling Stone. All right, with that being said, we're going to step aside.
Another $5.
That's right. Take our final look at traffic here on Pawn Talk Live. When we come back, wrapping up with Michael and Gary with our gold and jewel report. Stay tuned.
It's 2:45 in the KDWN Nevada Credit Union Traffic Center. Just one accident on the Valley Freeways, 215 westbound east of Decatur. But watch for slowing on the 15 south. It looks very congested. There are wrecks Cheyenne at Rancho, Sahara near the Stratosphere, Oakey at Valley View, Sunset Road west of Eastern, and Spencer at Sunset. And work continues on a new interchange at 15 and Cactus. That's between St. Rose Parkway and Silverado Ranch. The speed limit is down to 55 miles per hour. From the KDWN Nevada Credit Union Traffic Center, I'm Denise Marmeyer on News Talk 720 KDWN.
Hi, Frank here with Frank's European Service, and I'm proud to bring you the KDWN Auto Tip of the Week. At Frank's European Service, it's our mission to provide the best European automotive repair and service experience in Las Vegas, and that includes helping you stay informed. This week's tip is tires. As the summer approaches, it's a good idea to inspect your tires and make sure they're not aged, cracked, or dry rotted. Many tire manufacturers recommend replacing tires between 6 and 10 years of age, regardless of the tread that's remaining. So let's get your tires checked. It's a good time to check for pressure and make sure they haven't aged out. Tune in to KDWN at 4:30 p.m. on Saturdays for Frank's Car Care Tips radio show, where we will be discussing anything and everything automotive related and answering all your automotive questions. If you have a question, visit us on the web at frankseuropeanservice.com or stop by one of our Valley locations, 1931 North Rainbow or 704 West Sunset in Henderson.
Attention men, are you one of the millions suffering from ED? Has Viagra or Cialis failed you? Are you suffering from low T or just wish you could last longer? New Male Medical Center can help you discover the new you. Their doctors offer state-of-the-art FDA-approved treatments that are 98% effective. You'll see results on your very first visit. Their treatments will work even when Viagra and Cialis have failed. Guaranteed. Call New Male Medical Center at 702-505-4414 today to schedule your no-obligation appointment. Calling now is the best decision you will ever make for your sexual health. Join the thousands of patients who are no longer suffering because they had the courage to call. 702-505-4414. That's 702-505-4414. New Male Medical Center. Discover the new you. 702-505-4414. That's 702-505-4414.
Hi, this is Michael Mack, owner of world-famous Max Pawn in Las Vegas. You ever wondered what those valuables are worth? Had a pawn question but didn't know who to ask? I have the solution for you. Join me and Dave Carney every Friday from 2 to 3 for Pawn Talk Live here on News Radio 720 KDWN.
This is Jorge Gonzalez from the Opening Line Radio Show. Join us every Sunday night from 9 to 10 p.m. to get in-depth analysis and free selections for the upcoming week of football right here on AM 720 KDWN.
Now back to Pawn Talk Live with your hosts Michael Mack and Dave Carney.
And welcome back to Pawn Talk Live here on News Talk 720 KDWN. Dave Carney, joined by fourth-generation pawnbroker, owner of the world-famous Max Pawn, Michael Mack, Chad Forrester. And in studio with us today, special guest Gary Zamalt. Phone lines are still going to be open for the next 10 minutes. I know you got me scared there. I was like, man, that's a great,
quick.
That's a great song. Don't kick me off already. Phone lines are going to be open for about the next 8 minutes here. 702-257-5396, 702-257-KDWN. If you're looking for something to do tonight, guys, or tomorrow, or even for the rest of this weekend, we've got you covered here. If you're looking for something tonight, 2 Field Pass tickets. That's right, Field Pass tickets to see the Las Vegas 51s against the Sacramento River Cats. Game started 7:05, and then this weekend, get your Memorial Day rocking and rolling with tickets to see Raiding the Rock Vault, Trent Carlini's The King, or, of course, Mosaic, which I'm still completely confused on. It seems like a boy band to me. I can't tell.
I don't know. We're going to have to actually go and check it out, I guess.
I think so.
You know, I have to give a little recap report on something that was reported to us.
Absolutely. Do this.
Last
week.
You know,
great hit.
Every single week, Gary, we get callers that call in, and I happened to show you in my office yesterday something very rare. We had a caller that called in with the wedding album from Tony Spilotro.
Yep.
And you talk about rarities. One of the most,
notorious gangsters of all time. Yeah.
Well, according to Oscar, when I met, alleged. He will never give him up.
No.
He told me he was alleged. Okay? So
there is no mafia. What are you talking about? I'm sorry.
I took this wedding album, and I'm good friends with Mayor Oscar Goodman, and we had breakfast, and I showed it to him, and he says, you know what? This is probably one of the most fabulous pieces of history he's ever seen. He says, Pawn Talk Live, he listens to it, and he says the things that he hears on our show, we had Frank Sinatra's boots. We've had Elvis's
Colonel Parker's canes, that's right.
The things he hears. But anyways, he's hooking the gentleman up. We're going to place the item at the Mob Museum as one of the most...
it's
like
going to be a display item.
Displayed item. He's going to loan it. But one of the pictures in the back had him and Lefty Rosenthal.
That's right.
And Oscar said that those 2 photos alone were so cool. He says only the FBI had surveillance of those 2 together. There was never a photo. And these 2 photos alone were worth, its weight in gold.
Well,
and it's going to go to the Mob Museum, and our friend who called in the show is going to get a lot of satisfaction, and they're going to make a big to-do like they did with the sheriff when they put all his sheriff...
I know who you're talking about. Brown, former sheriff. I don't know. Anyways, moving on. It was one of the sheriffs. He donated a lot of stuff,
Yep.
and of course, it was the only time Ralph Lamb. The only time in Clark County history, Las Vegas history, when Ralph Lamb was sheriff, when the FBI would not share information with our local police department because of how corrupt they figured that we all were. It used to be known that the cops were worse than the gangsters out here. They'll put you,
Oscar
86
says,
quicker.
that's a cool item, but I have to tell you about something cooler.
Oh, boy.
He donated to the Mob Museum the most watched book by the Metropolitan Police Department and the FBI from 1976 to 1985.
Wow.
And Oscar happened to be in the book himself, and they said... they'd say, make little notes. Oscar Goodman, he snickered at us again.
Uncooperative.
Oscar was a smart aleck again. It was like he said it in several places throughout, but the people that were in it was unbelievable. Sinatra was in it. Steve Wynn was in it. Everyone was in it. And Oscar said, you didn't make the cut. I said, yeah, I made it in 87. I got in a new book.
Yeah, well, Michael, I was going to say, you were still on the fast track to being one of the 30 under 30 at that time, so I don't think you were ready.
This is the FBI surveillance book, right?
Yes.
Wow.
Is that awesome?
Well, I actually saw that photo album that you were talking about. What I thought was remarkable is watching the movie Casino and looking at the photo album. There's a lot of similarities in even the dress that they wore. I mean, they nailed this thing. And the look of Tony Spilotro and Joe Pesci Wow.
So you must imagine, obviously when Casino was being made, it was obviously a book first, and then when it was getting adapted for screen and Scorsese took over the production. Michael, you had mentioned, the back of this photo album, we see probably two of the rarest photos, in mob lore, and that's Lefty Rosenthal and Anthony Spilatro being together. That must have been, though, something that I would imagine Scorsese got to look at, not necessarily those photos, but the FBI photos, because if you're casting for these parts and you see the photos that we see in this photo album,
remarkable.
Ginger, okay, the blonde girl, first of all.
Same dress, that green dress that she wears.
She might have been better looking than Sharon Stone.
I think so.
Okay, and then you have the gentleman Lefty himself who just passed away about 4 years ago, and of course Tony Spilatro in there. And you've got to imagine that Scorsese or somebody was able to look at an FBI photo, because otherwise, how could they have picked him so dead on?
Well, Oscar, he mentioned to me, he says that one particular photo, if he does launch a second edition of his book, he has to place that photo in there
fantastic.
and get the permission. But, it's going to go in the Mob Museum. It's going to be part of our history. It's great it was on Pawn Talk Live. And that's what's great about our show every week, that you can call in and you might be discovered. Something may be discovered. And, that's the great thing, We love these stories, and we love sharing them with you. So each week, I give my new cell number out. It's 913-5626. If you have an item you like to text a photo to, it's 913-5626.
Don't forget 702.
702. And shoot us a photo or a text of what you have, and we'll possibly put you on the show.
Yeah, no, it's
I would like to
great
follow
stuff.
up with saying, take that, Bob Coffin.
Yeah.
Huh? What we do on this show, buddy?
That's right. Hey, listen, Oscar Goodman might have a word or two for you when you're talking Pawn Talk Live here. No, I mean, Michael, great points that you bring up, because when we look at when we look at the kind of things that we hope to hear from the folks that listen to us here on Pawn Talk Live, we can only in our wildest dreams really get these types of items and the pieces of history that we do ask to hear about. This is why we want to do it, because we're history geeks too. I mean, this is fun for us. I mean, it's obviously fun for the folks that have it, but it's fun for us to be able to see and share these things.
I nerded out when he showed me that album. Oh my, it's a piece of history in your hands. It's pretty rare to see, but let alone hold it. It was just really cool.
The wedding happened in Chicago, 1960. And as you guys saw from the wedding album, I don't think there was an expense spared.
No.
It was first class, bow ties, silk dresses.
Well, and it just makes you wonder, for an alleged mobster, I mean, how did he afford all that? It's just, I alleged.
I know the cake was comped. Some bent-nose delivered the cake.
Man, 1960. And, here's the other great thing about that piece, guys. I mean, a lot of stuff, especially with mob history, hasn't always had the gentlest of care. Things were hastily thrown around here. I mean, I lived in Las Vegas in the late 80s, and actually we made an exodus to Aruba for about a year and a half while this was all going on. I mean, the federal government, along with the local police, really didn't take any exception to picking up a lot of this stuff, destroying it on spot. So some of these things that were able to escape the hands of the FBI, escape the hands of the Metro Police Department and the Sheriff's Department, that's what is really impressive. And then to see the condition, Chad, like you and I mentioned, it looks like it's brand new.
Well, the other picture that's in there is Tony and his brother as well.
That's right.
Which, obviously, if you watch the movie and knowing the history, I believe they were buried together, correct?
They
sure
were.
And
and so, I mean, that's an interesting photo in and of itself there, too.
Well, I wonder if there's any, Tony Spilatro ethanol or something that's going to come out, straight from a cornfield in Iowa to your car.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to
probably
happen.
not. All right, guys, to tell you what, next week, we want to hear more from you, okay? We're going to keep the phone lines open the entire hour. But, of course, this is something that you can also do on our Facebook page. You can go to facebook.com/Pawn Talk Live or on Twitter @Pawn Talk Live. All you have to do is snap a photo of that item or maybe tell us a little bit of a story about that item, and we can bring that on. We obviously talked last week, guys, about a Facebook post that had inquired about that Meet the Beatles album. Now, Michael, with the Beatles being, one of the top bands here on our all-time top 10 songs, as these lists come out and different things come up in news, does it make any certain item more valuable? Like if the Beatles are in the news, does it make their album more valuable right now? If we get a movie with Tony Spilatro, does this album become more valuable?
Absolutely. You bring attention to anything. Like Gary has a James Bond watch. And once you have a Bond movie that comes out, everyone wants the Bond watch. Everyone wants the new Omega watch, Bond watch. So it's a lot of fun, and I love having guests like Gary on. You're welcome back anytime. You can even call in from Kansas City. We'd love to have you.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, if you're out there suffering through the mild summers and baseball, that's when you can give us a call. All right, guys, we got to go here. It's that time, 3 o'clock Friday. We'll see you guys all here next week, 1 o'clock on Live Las Vegas for Chad Forster, Michael Mack, Gary Zamalt, and, of course, Tammy Gravel. I'm Dave Carney. Have a great and safe Memorial Day weekend. Luxury shops in Las Vegas aren't new. What is new, however, is luxury meeting value. At the world-famous Max Pawn, we specialize in marrying the two. With some of the finest selections of watches, designer handbags, sunglasses, and more, the luxury never stops. Every day, new items are added in-store and online. From Gucci and Chanel to Hermes and Louis Vuitton, Max Pawn delivers all the top luxury brands at a fraction of the price. Visit us online at maxpawnlv.com or browse our showroom in Las Vegas. The world-famous Max Pawn, where luxury meets value.
You'll never forget your first car, and you'll certainly never forget your first car wreck. When this happens to you, you need an attorney who can help you get your car fixed, get you the medical attention you need, and help get you all the money you deserve. Don't deal with the insurance companies without an attorney. In a wreck and need a check? Make one call, that's all, to 877-1500. We'll fight to get you all the money you deserve and try to keep you out of court. I'm attorney Glenn Lerner.
Glenn Lerner is the way to go. Call 877-1500.
More live, more local. The best talk radio is right here